Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Jake Levine. I've got Mackenzie Freeman, Jasmine Grace, and Sean Smith, as usual, with me. We're going to talk about some college basketball today, but we're going to start with the Mean Green, and we're going to start with the men's team. They pulled out a big 64-50 win last night against the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee State, and they moved to 24-6 and 15-4 in the conference. Guys, this was a close game in the first half, right?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking.
And so Mean Green pulled away with a huge second half. What are our thoughts, Mackenzie?
I thought it was a great game. Like you said, the first quarter kind of had me nervous, especially with Middle Tennessee hitting a bunch of their threes in that first half. They only went 1 of 8 in the next half. So ultimately, I thought it was just a good game for the Mean Green, for them to get the lead at half and then to pull it back in.
Yeah, Jazz?
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the coaching adjustments and player adjustments going into the second half. And overall, at halftime, I thought that the Mean Green kind of started out slow. And for us to be able to come back and rally in that win, not just by a small margin, but a pretty nice margin, I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, Sean, what'd you think?
Like you said, the score at halftime was 30-33. We were barely up, and we had just come back in the last few minutes there. Middle Tennessee was 6 for 11 from 3 in the first half. Felt like they were hitting everything. We were 2 for 7, I believe, at halftime. But yeah, we really had to turn it around. We had to keep the gas on the brakes.
Keep the gas on the brakes, baby.
Yep.
I like that. So let's go with the MVPs of the game for each team. We're going to start with the UNT Mean Green. I've got Abu Usman. He went 6 for 13 from the field, 7 for 8 on his free throws.
Okay. Yeah.
How about that? We got 9 rebounds, 19 points, almost double-double again for Abu. Mackenzie, who do you have?
So I actually kind of have 2 this game.
Okay.
I think obviously Usman had a great game. Definitely, in my book, had the best game out of everyone. But I also have to give credit to Perry.
Yeah.
14 of 14 from free throw. He said after the game that he had been in a slump with his shooting, but he made himself useful on other fronts. And so I thought I had to give him credit there.
Yeah, absolutely. Jazz?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Usman. Abu played a great game. I feel like he was dominating the paint. Exactly what you want to see from your big out there. Giving Middle Tennessee a lot of problems and making them very frustrated, for sure. You can visibly see it. So I think anytime you can knock your defender off their game and get them really into their head and frustrated, I think that's something really great for your team.
Knock them off their game, he did. We'll talk about that later. Mackenzie, I actually heard they're giving out 2 NBA MVP awards this year, so you're ahead of the curve on that one. Oh, my MVP was Abu. My MVP was Abu. He had the best game. Tyler struggled from the floor just a little bit. He did have those 14 free throws, which is awesome, but they couldn't stop Abu. He was 7 for 8 on his free throws, like you said. He had 5 blocks this game. He was just a menace down there. It's always great to see him when he's locked in, like he has been, especially when he's had not his best games recently. To see him come back right before conference time like this was
Great to
big.
see. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so for Middle Tennessee, kind of harder to pick. A low-scoring game for them, kind of spread the ball around. I went with guard Cameron Weston. He had 4 for 10 from the field, 2 for 3 on threes. 4 rebounds, 12 points. That's my pick. This one wasn't too clear, though. Sean, who did you have from Middle Tennessee?
I had to go with Eli Lawrence. He had 3 threes in the first half, and that was really their best, most consistent score of the day. In the second half, they kind of fell apart. So, I was sticking with Eli Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also had Lawrence. I thought in the first half he was really electric, giving their team fire, especially from 3. Obviously didn't show up in the second half, but I think all in all, Middle Tennessee kind of didn't show up in the second half. So it was hard to choose, but I went with Lawrence as well.
I actually went with Elias King. The spread between the leading scorer and how many points he had was only 4, but he was the only starter who didn't have a foul in the game. 3 out of 5 of the starters had 3 or more fouls, and I think for him, in a frustrating game, not to get those fouls, showed some discipline. And, he was pretty spread out with his rebounds and assists, so I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah. So we're going to pose the question, what changed the game? But I think it's pretty clear what changed the game. UNT only made 18 shots in the field, 3 for 13 on threes, but they put up 64 points. Probably wondering, how did they do that? 25 for 30 on free throws. Yeah. That is 83%.
It's a team mentality.
That's a mentality. We saw them struggle early this year on free throws. So that is Clearly, for me at least, what changed this game.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, do you have something other than free throws?
No, I got to give credit to them for being able to get to the line. Free throws are one of the fundamentals, and it helped them win this game. So, yeah, I'd have to give it to the free throws.
Yeah.
I'll give some credit to the defense. Obviously, the free throws were a huge part of our game last night, but I want to give credit to the defense. Obviously, we know Abu had 5 blocks, was really creating a really hard time in the paint for the other team, making them probably not even want to go in there, settling for a lot of perimeter shots that just weren't falling in the second half. So I give some credit to Abu and the rest of the guys. Ruben, Tyler Perry had 4 steals. Ruben had 2. So you got to give credit to the defense as well.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to say Tiafale Leonard getting ejected. That really changed the game. That first technical foul, that really swung the momentum. If you look at the game score from that point on, we just took the lead and never looked back. It was close. Like, they came out early. It was like, 15-5 at one point. And then we were battling for a little bit. You got that first technical. That really shifted the momentum. Tyler had 4 free throws on 1 play. And then we just never looked back from there. So, we were fortunate that his head wasn't in the game last night.
And Middle Tennessee went on a lot of runs, so the defense's ability to get in there, get a steal. Perry even had a steal where he just wasn't even looking, just playing good defense, being in between, man and the ball. So disciplined defense leading us to points in the paint, stuff like that.
Absolutely. It was a really good game last night. Now we're going to look ahead to the game tomorrow night at the Super Pit. Actually, tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. Season finale before the conference tournament. It's going to be the Mean Green and the Hilltoppers coming in from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Guys, this should be a pretty good game, right? We're going to have some players to watch. I'm going to go for Tyler Perry. He shot 2 for 10 from the field, 1 for 7 on threes. Obviously, 14 for 14 on the free throws, but we'd like to see him shoot better from the field. Mackenzie, who are you watching from the Mean Green?
I'm going to go Usman. I've been a real big fan of this guy all year. But lately, in the last 5 games, I think I've seen a lot more of his talent come out of him. And, he proved it last night, and I think he'll carry that over into next week, or into Saturday.
Jazz?
I'm actually going to go with Ruben Jones. I think with Kai Huntsberry going down, Ruben is going to have to step up if Kai doesn't play as a secondary ball handler. His role will obviously increase. So I think we're going to need him on both ends of the floor to really help us tomorrow if we're really trying to secure that win.
That's a really good point. We don't know the timetable on Kai's injury right now. But I'm going to go with Aaron Scott. Kind of struggled with fouls in the last game, fouled out against Charlotte. That's something that's kind of been plaguing him all year. So if he can really lock in and have a great game, get us ready for conference, that'll be huge for us. So I'm looking for him to hopefully have his best game of the season.
Right.
Absolutely. And this Western Kentucky team, they can be kind of scary. They've had a little slump this year, but they've historically been really good. And offensively, they are scary. And I'm watching Davion McKnight for the Hilltoppers. He scored 29 last time UNT played them. He's averaging 17, 5, and 4. I mean, that is who I've got my eye on. Sean, who are you looking for tomorrow afternoon from the Hilltoppers?
Davion McKnight is definitely a killer. I always like to talk about the big man, Jamarion Sharp, not Conference USA leading shot blocker, the nation's leading shot blocker. I believe it's 4.7 per game right now. Dude's like 7'5", and he's so agile. We've seen guys like Zach Edey, they're big, but they can't really move like he can. So he just really changes the game like that. I think he also has like a steal or 2 a game. He's tall.
Jazz, who you got?
Tall and gas on the brakes.
Gas on the brakes.
Yeah, I also have Davion McKnight. Watching him last game just shred our defense. We have a very solid defense. So for a guy to go out there and score 29 points was just really surprising to see. I don't know how many other players have scored that many against our defense this year. So I think he's got to be the guy to look out for, the guy that you got to stop. And starting from there, I think you're going to have to, he's going to be the guy you have to worry about.
Right. Maybe a shocker. I'm also going to go with Davion McKnight. I mean, 29 points against our nationally #1 ranked defense. It's something that he needs to be given credit for. So he's definitely going to be the player to look out for.
It will definitely be an interesting game to watch with the difference in the 2 play styles. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the UNT women's basketball team, the game they just played against Middle Tennessee State, and preview their game at Western Kentucky. So stay right with us. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. We're now going to talk about the UNT Mean Green women's basketball team. They had a tough game last night in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. They played the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, who are ranked 24th in the country national.
For a reason.
We're talking an at-large Conference USA team for
yeah.
March Madness. And so they lost this game, and they moved to 11-18 overall with 8-11 record in the conference. This could not be good for Frisco coming up. They've got another tough game tomorrow. But let's talk about our MVP for the Mean Green. Even though they lost, I'm going to go with the Q, Quincy Noble. She went 7 for 13 from the field, 1 for 1 on the threes, 8 rebounds, 15 assists, almost double-double, only 1 turnover. We know we've seen her struggle on turnovers this year in the losses, but she was able to play pretty well. Mackenzie, who'd you like from North Texas?
I also went with Quincy Noble, 15 points, 8 rebounds. To put up that many points up against Middle Tennessee is something you like to see. But I also liked the spread of our offense. You know, usually it's Quincy Noble and one other girl, that's where the spread lies. But we had 3 girls who had 9 points, 8 points, and 7 points.
Yeah.
We just, we're going up against Middle Tennessee, so it was a loss waiting to happen.
Yeah. Jazz?
I had a little more faith, but I definitely am going with Quincy as well. I think she was a lot more efficient than we've seen her. So I think if she can just rally the troops and get kind of everyone else on board to, have more efficient and effective games, I think they could have a lot more of an impact than they did.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Quincy, normally in our losses, we'll see her get shut down, not really able to get much going. She had a really efficient game. She was 7 for 13 from the floor, 1 for 1 on her threes, 15 points, and we just couldn't throw a ball in the ocean last night. It's tough.
Yeah. It was really tough to see. And for Middle Tennessee, this team is really powerful. I chose Jalen Gregory. She went 5 for 11 from the field, 4 for 10 on threes. 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Again, only 1 turnover for her. There's a bunch of different players you could say changed the game for them. But I went with Gregory because I thought she all around had a great game shooting. Sean, who did you like from the Blue Raiders?
Yeah, like you said, they had 5 players scoring double digits. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of players to choose from. I also went with Gregory just for her, shooting, 4 for 10 from the 3, like you mentioned. She also had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, just doing it all.
Yeah, Gregory had the best all-around game. I felt like she really went out there and performed. Any girl on the team where your coach lets you go out there and chunk up 10 threes, they got some faith in you. You know what I mean?
She definitely had the green light.
So they have some faith in that girl, and she went out there 40%. I think most nights, most teams would take that. So I'm going to have to give her the nod.
I'm going to go with Sanaya Malashka, specifically because she came off the bench and still was able to get into the double digits, had 6 rebounds, was really efficient. And when you bring that energy coming off the bench, that shows that you're keeping up with the game and you're really involved. So I'm going to have to give it to her.
Absolutely. And we could point out a lot of things that change this game for Middle Tennessee. I mean, they're ranked 24th in the country. Every stat category I've got in this sheet has Middle Tennessee ahead. UNT did not win a single stat category. Most notably, they went 2 for 14 on their threes. That's 14%. 3 for 9 on free throws. They got out-rebounded by 13 rebounds. Guys, what do we think played the biggest role in this loss?
I'm actually going to go with the first quarter. I really think you look at the second quarter, you look at the third quarter, and you look at the fourth quarter. While we did lose each one of those quarters, none of it was over a 10-point margin. So the first half, getting yourself in a hole and having to climb back out of it, I think that's where we really hurt ourselves.
Jess?
Yeah, like you mentioned, 14% from 3 is just not going to cut it. And that's not just for this game. That's for kind of like the entire season. These girls just need to get the ball in the basket from 3, especially if they're going to play against these tough teams. I mean, we lost by almost 30, and I'm not saying that we would have won the game had we made some threes, but I definitely think the margin could have been a lot smaller had we, made more shots. So I think if you guys can shoot at least 35, 40%, you can at least lower the margins of these games.
So we've talked about Misha, what she needs to do to get the start for so long now. She finally gets the start, has 4 fouls in 16 minutes. She still had 9 points, so she's still doing well with what she has. But we saw Nia Johnson for 4 minutes coming in at the end. We don't have an interior presence, right? Middle Tennessee shot 6 for 22 from 3, which is solid, but not great.
Right.
And they destroyed us on the inside. So not having an interior presence has really hurt this team all season. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this team, we always talk about their third quarters, right? How they always come out stumbling out at halftime. Usually in the first half, they play a little better. They lost the first quarter 6-20.
Yeah.
And then the third quarter, they scored 15, only gave up 16, right?
Right.
So I guess that's a bright spot. What do you guys think that UNT can take away from this game heading into the last conference game before Frisco? Mackenzie, what can the Mean Green take away from this?
I thought, and yes, this is going to sound dumb because we did lose the game by a lot.
Yeah.
But I think defensively, we weren't bad. We had 9 steals. We
Yeah.
actually matched Middle Tennessee's steals. And also with Lampkin, I think there's a lot of development there and a lot of positivity coming from 9 points in 16 minutes. You know, you work on footwork and stuff like that. And she's in there, you know, the whole game, not in foul trouble. So I think those were 2 positive things that came out of this game.
Jazz, what'd you take away?
I just took away that we have to get the ball in the basket, obviously. I think we need to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
6 points in
Yeah.
a quarter. You have to, like, if you have 10 free throws, like, you have to figure out some way to get on the free throw line, to get the ball in the hole. Like, you have to figure out something. I put a little bit, you know, that responsibility on coach to figure out how you're going to do it. So I think that's a big thing. I also think they need to, you know, Lampkin didn't have 30 and 15 one game on accident. You know,
Right.
she worked for that. And if you watch the game, she earned every point she got. So we got to get her more shots, whether she has 4
Right.
fouls or not. I think even though she didn't play a lot of minutes, she still could have got more shots.
Right.
I think the positive takeaway is that we should now be on the opposite side of the bracket from Middle Tennessee.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That is good
Yeah,
news.
we were. So yeah, I think we're sitting at 7-8 right now, somewhere around there. It's unfortunate that we have to finish on the toughest stretch of the season, you know, against
Yes.
Western
Right.
Tennessee like this, when we're playing for a better spot, hopefully in the conference tournament. But yeah, I think the defense, like you said, you know, you look at the amount of points scored wasn't good, but having
Right.
steals, you know, having individual plays like that you can look back on, and be
Right.
like we did that well. That
Yeah.
gives us something to feel good about going forward.
Right.
Absolutely. And this Mean Green team is going to go play at Western Kentucky tomorrow at 1 o'clock in Bowling Green. I'm watching out for Lampkin tomorrow. She only had 9 points in 16 minutes against Middle Tennessee.
Right.
So I'm going to look for her to step up tomorrow against the Hilltoppers. Mackenzie, who are you looking for from UNT?
I'm going to go with the Q. She had 24 points against them last time, 7 rebounds. Anaya Johnson, too, scored her career high, but obviously her 4 minutes yesterday, maybe an injury there or something,
Yeah.
not quite sure yet. But yeah, those would be the 2 players I'm looking out for.
I'm going to go with Quincy. I think Quincy has a potential. If you can score 15 against one of the top teams, I think she could put up a good 20, 25. I want to see that efficiency from her. I know she has it, so I'm looking for her to be the player that can change things.
Yeah, hopefully looking to see Quincy build off what she just had. I kind of want to see Ariana Hardaway step up.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't been talking about her much recently, but she's had a few great games this season.
Yeah.
Right.
Just, you know, coming in at the right time, I think would be big for us right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And UNT averages 6.7 points per game, less than Western Kentucky. So, Sean, who do you think is your player to watch for Western Kentucky? Who's going to dominate this team?
I was looking at Maya Meredith. She's a point guard for them. Really looking for her to, you know, control the tempo of this game and hopefully set the tone for them.
Jazz, who you got from the Hilltoppers?
Yeah, I was also looking at Maya Meredith, but if you look at the stat sheet, I mean, Western Kentucky, they only have one girl that averages in double digits. They have a very spread out offense. So
Right.
I think just individually, like, everyone's going to have to play their part because you never know who could have a big game.
Yeah, Mackenzie.
I'm going to go with Hayes. She's the #1 scorer of the team, but I kind of do want to piggyback off of Jasmine. Their spread is so hard to pick from just because, you know, you got one girl leading the score and then it's like 10, like,
Yeah.
you know, so it's hard to say with this Western Kentucky team.
Yeah, they definitely distribute the scoring really well.
Right.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about some Conference USA matchups and teams. So stay right with us. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day, everyone. I am here with Mackenzie Freeman, Jasmine Grace, and Sean Smith, and I am your host, Jake Levine, and we're going to talk about some Conference USA basketball. We've got some all-conference teams going on. We're going to start on the men's side, and we're going to go with our point guards. And I have Tyler Perry as my starting point guard for Conference USA All-Team. He's averaging 17 points per game. He's the anchor of this UNT Mean Green team. This 2 seed heading into the conference tournament. I think, there's a lot of controversy between him and Jelly, but you got to say, who won the season series? It was the Mean Green.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm going to give Tyler the edge. Mackenzie, who's your men's starting point guard?
I'm going with Mr. Clutch himself, Tyler Perry. He's first in 3-point percentage in CUSA. He's great at handling the ball, so he's the obvious choice here in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with TP. I think, like we said, he's the guy, and not just by putting up points and stats on the board, but just in the locker room. You can tell that these guys really lean on him. Coach trusts him, his teammates trust him, and to be the star player and everyone have your back, I'm sure that's a great feeling. So not only is he the MVP because of statistical reasons, but I think as a teammate and as a player, he's the guy.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's unanimous. I wasn't expecting much disagreement there. He's 95th in the country percentile in points per possession. Anytime he shoots the ball, it's going in. He's 60% effective field goal percentage with the shot clock under 4 seconds. So like you said, Mr. Clutch. And plus he's a great teammate. I think everyone in the locker room loves this guy. Everyone in Mean Green Nation loves this guy. He's awesome.
Absolutely. And now we're going to go to the shooting guard, the 2 spot. I've got Davion McKnight from Western Kentucky. I talked about him earlier. I said he's averaging 17, 5, and 4. Scored 29 against UNT last time against a UNT defense that is #1 in the nation. So that is my pick for number 2. I think him and Tyler Perry would be great together.
Oh, yeah.
Kenzie, who's your shooting guard?
I'm going to go with Quincy Olivari from Rice. He's averaging 19.3 points per game. And then if you look at the leaderboards, he's top 6 in free throws, free throw percentage, and 3-pointers. And he's had 3 double-doubles this season, so definitely a player to look out for and a good shooting guard.
Yeah. Jazz?
Yeah, I also had Davion McKnight. I think you want to talk about a guy who can go get a bucket against individual defense, team defense, can just kind of break it down and break it all apart. That's Davion McKnight. So I think he's definitely my second pick.
I went with Jordan Walker. I think he can play shooting guard. He's the conference's leader in points per game. Not much to say. Not much else to say about him that hasn't already been said. He's a bucket from anywhere. He's so fast, so shifty. Easily a top 5 player in the conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the 3 spot, small forward, Sean, I'm gonna start with you. Who's your small forward?
I think Davion McKnight can run small forward. He's a lengthy athlete. They measure him about 6'2", but he's a lethal scorer. I think this triple guard lineup will beat all of your teams, frankly.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Teams fear him. He's a tough lefty to stop. Everybody has to game plan for him. So having 3 of those guys on my team, I'm pretty comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Isaiah Crawford from La Tech, especially with Kobe Williams going out. He's stepped up, and I think he'll continue to step up in the tournament, and I think he's one of the best forwards, kind of guard/forward, in the conference.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Kai Huntsberry. I know that may be a hot take, but in my opinion, he's a role player, and he's averaging 14.6 points per game. So, I don't know, to not have him in the starting lineup would be dumb.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of a tough one to go with. For my small forward, you can't kind of go anywhere with this one. I went with KJ Buffin. He's averaging 11 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He helps Jelly stay afloat over in UAB. He's keeping them in the, I believe, 3 spot there right now. Right. So I think he's a really key player for them.
He's a tough offensive rebounder, too.
Yes, he is, definitely. Power forward, I've got Max Fielder from Rice. He's been beaten up on UNT this year. This is a big lineup. He's averaging 8 rebounds per game. That's 3rd in Conference USA. He's just got the clutch factor. Jazz, how about your power forward?
Okay, I went with Ali Khalifa. We faced him a few times. Yeah. I think sometimes the stat sheet doesn't show just all of what he does on the floor. Watching him, he's a great player. Runs the floor, can get you rebounds, can get you offensive buckets, and can also play defense. So he can also stretch the floor. So that's my 4 pick, and especially in this modern positionless age. If you can stretch the floor and be a forward and be in the paint, then you're a guy I want on my team.
Right.
Sean, who you got?
At power forward, I went with Isaiah Crawford. He does typically play power forward position for La Tech, although he's versatile enough to play really anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's ice cold. You know, when he's locked in, he's one of the toughest players in our conference. He's a fantastic shooter. He's so efficient from anywhere on the floor. He can really get to his spot at any time. Yeah, he's tough.
Right. I'm going to go with KJ Buffin. I know you took him at the small forward, which goes
He can
to
play
show
big.
that he's, versatile and can score inside the paint, and that's what he does. And then he also gets rebounds as well. He's got 6.8 rebounds per game, and he's just great on defense as well.
He also hit that shot to send it to overtime against us.
Yeah.
He
at the
did.
end, yeah.
He did. For my center, we're going to go with center position. I've
man.
got Jacob Germany from the UTSA Roadrunners. I feel like this one should be more popular of a pick because this guy leads Conference USA in rebounds per game and averages 12.5 points per game. This guy's a beast. I know UTSA is at bottom of the conference. I mean, they're dwelling, but
But
this guy's good.
every bad team has a good player.
Absolutely.
Like,
and Mackenzie.
I actually also went with Jacob Germany.
Wow.
He leads. He's 16th in scoring with 12.2 points per. He beats Usman and Khalifa, two people that y'all are gonna pick.
I ain't even say that.
You don't know my picks.
All right. But
Jazz, who's your center?
I went with Abu. I'm going to be a homer.
I like it.
Forget the stat sheet. Okay, look, you averaged the most in rebounds. Why is your team at the bottom? If you get in the board, what
This
are you
team can't shoot.
what are you doing?
That's not a center
He breaks the
position.
game.
Okay, but I chose Abu because of the way he impacts the game.
Absolutely.
He impacts
Yeah.
the game very much. If TP's having an off night, we can rely on Abu
Right.
to take over. We can have him as our centerpiece. And I don't think those other guys or that other guy could do that.
All right.
My center was Max Fiedler.
Okay. I'll allow it.
He's the leader in assists in the conference. If
Right.
you watch this Rice team play, they play through him. He's unstoppable in the paint, leading the league, leading the conference in field goal percentage as well. He's a lot like Nikola Jokic if the jump shot isn't quite there.
Yeah.
But the way they play through him at the high post, it's incredible to watch, and he's easily a top 5 player in this conference.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good pick. So we're going to go to the women's side, and I'm going to go with my point guard as Kayana Walker from Louisiana Tech. This girl's only 5'6", and she's scoring 18 points with 5 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
I think that's really impressive. So she's going to be in my starting lineup. I like how tough she is. Kenzie, who's your starting point guard on the women's side?
I'm gonna go with the Q. I know that you can put her at shooting guard or point guard or really anywhere for UNT, but I think if we're looking at all across conference, she's definitely in that point guard position for me.
Sure, Jazz.
Yeah, I went with Anaya Hubbard from FAU. Obviously, FAU women's aren't doing near as good as the men's, but Anaya Hubbard has great impact on the game. Every time she's out there, she's definitely someone you need to keep your eye on. So I went with Anaya Hubbard.
Yeah, there's a lot of good picks here. I also went with Kiana Walker, leading her team to second place in the conference.
Yeah.
She also has 2 assists per game, 1 steal per game. She's just a bucket.
She is a bucket. She is a bucket. And shooting guard, Sean, I want to hear your shooting guard first.
So my shooting guard, I went with Jada McMillian for Charlotte, Conference USA assist leader. As you can tell, I like assists. I like my guards to pass the ball a lot. She's also averaging 15 points per game area. Yeah.
I went with Quincy Noble for my number 2 pick. Love watching Quincy play. I think when she's on her game and she's being very efficient, I think she's someone who's really hard to stop. She can give you, 15. She can also give you 20 or 30, depending on how she's feeling and how they're playing that day. So I went with Quincy Noble.
I'm going to go with Jordan Jenkins from UTSA. Her ability to get the ball in the rack is incredible, and she's on UTSA, who's not a bad team, so I think she's good in the shooting guard position.
Absolutely. And I went with Quincy Noble from UNT. She's averaging 17, 4, and 1. She's the anchor of this team. So let's go ahead and quickly move on to small forward. I've got Jayzion Jackson from the UTEP Miners. She's averaging 12, 6, and 3. She's top 15 in points and rebounds per game. I think that's really valuable. Kenzie, who's your small forward?
I'm going with Dazia Lawrence. Her ability to work inside the paint and get some buckets every game is something that I like to see, so I'm going to put her at the small forward position.
I'm going with Jalen Gregory from Middle Tennessee. I think you could put anyone off Middle Tennessee
That's fair.
in this starting five, but I chose Jalen Gregory for this position because I feel like she stood out the most.
Yeah, well, arguably the best scorer in Conference USA, Quincy Noble for North Texas. You guys had her at guard. I had her at 3. She's 5'10".
fair.
She can play inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and so power forward. Sean, I want to hear your power forward first.
My power forward was Jordan Jenkins. She's the Conference USA points per game leader. She was averaging 15 points a game at USC. Now she's at 22 per game. She can get it from anywhere, and she does.
Yeah, same with Sean. I went with Jordan Jenkins from UTSA. Great player, can get a bucket. Love her game.
And then I'm going to go with Lampkin. I think when she's on, she's on. So I'm going to go with her.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Sean here. I've got Jordan Jenkins. She's leading Conference USA with 21 points per game. She's also averaging 8 rebounds a game. I feel like that's really valuable. Last but not least, center position. I've got Tamisha Lankin from the UNT Mean Green. She's only averaging 9 points, 7 rebounds, 62% though from the field. I feel like she complements Quincy Noble really well.
Right.
Mackenzie, who's your center if you got Lampkin at the 4?
I'm going to go with Courtney Whitston. She did really good up against UNT last night, and so I'm going to put her at the 5.
I have Malia Fisher from Rice. She's a great big, tall, can really get in there and get some buckets, and also plays great defense. So she's my pick.
I'm going to go with Sanaya Malashka. She's first in the conference in blocks, first in PER, first in win shares per 40, first in box plus minus, first in defensive box plus minus, first in defensive rating, and
We got our numbers guy over
by
here.
a 10-point margin. So she does come off the bench, but I think she can play center.
Yeah, for sure.
I now agree with you on that one. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some players and coaches of the year nationally, though, so stay right with us. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. I'm your host, Jake Levine. I'm with Mackenzie Freeman, Jasmine Grace, and Sean Smith. And we're going to talk about some Players of the Year awards and also a Coach of the Year award nationally. So, Jasmine, how about you take it away for us?
I will take it away with my team. I'm going to start with my point guard, men's point guard for U of H, Marcus Sasser. Dallas, Texas native, averaging 17 points right now, 38.4% from 3, almost 2 steals a game. He has scored 20-plus points in his last 6 games, and he's really rallying this team together to help them get ready for, hopefully, a deep run. So that's my point guard. My shooting guard is Keontae George, Louisville native, so not that far.
Okay.
All right, you're going local.
He you know what I'm saying? He gives the defense problems. I mean, we all know that. And I think what's most impressive to me is that he's a freshman. He's only 19 years old. He has such a high ceiling. He can play on the ball, off the ball. His ability to finish from awkward angles and create opportunities off the dribble is just amazing to me. And he's obviously a huge part of this ranked Baylor team. So he's my shooting guard. Small forward, I'm going to have to go with Brandon Miller from Alabama. He's a dog, man. I mean, he averages almost 20 points a game, 8 rebounds. It's clear if you watch him just how talented he is. And any guy who can give you 41 points out of your team's 78 points on 56% shooting, that's a guy you might need to look out for. So I think he's just been amazing this season, and I look forward to seeing him play in the future. For my power forward, I went with Chris Murray from Iowa. Keegan Murray, NBA players, identical twin. He is also averaging 20 points and 8 rebounds. He also averages a block and a steal per game. And last year, he went from scoring around 10 points in 18 minutes to doubling that, averaging 20 points in 34 minutes. And he's just really increased and gotten better every year. He's a versatile guy who can score, rebound, and defend at a high level. And he's doing a great job of running the floor. So I love his game. And I went with women's for center. I had to go with Angel Reese. I mean, she already got snubbed on Player of the Year. So I had to put her in here just to give her some credit. She's averaging 23 and 16. Anyway, but she's gotten better every year. She's obviously a matchup problem offensively, defensively. She can score on you. She can block a shot. She can make you turn the ball over. I mean, you don't want to face her in the paint on either end of the floor. And for my Coach of the Year, I went with Kim Mulkey. I really love the fact that she can win pretty much wherever she goes.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is taken for granted. I think you see a lot of legendary coaches stay with one team for all these years, and you see them win, but a lot of times it's because the program has already been built and set into place. I think it's just really impressive how Kim Mulkey went from Baylor to LSU and continued her success.
Right.
So that's my starting 5. Let me hear what you guys got.
All right. I love it. Mackenzie, who's your team?
I'm going to start off with my point guard. I'm going with Mike Miles Jr. He's local. He goes to TCU, but he's averaging 18 points per game, and he's 51% on field goals. And this season, he was named the Big 12 Preseason Player of the Year, and I think he's lived up to that expectation. So I'm going to go with him for my point guard. My shooting guard, I'm going to flip it to the women's side of things. Taylor Mikesell out of Ohio State, 40% on three-pointers, and in one game, she had 7 threes, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
And then she's had 12 games with 4 or more threes scored.
Yeah.
So true shooting guard right there.
Yeah.
Small forward of the year, taking things to my Tennessee Lady Vols. I'm going with Rakia Jackson. She is a transfer from Mississippi State, but being successful at Mississippi State and then coming to Tennessee and averaging 18.9 points per game. I just love watching her play. My power forward, I'm going to go with Drew Timme. He actually is a Dallas native. He's 6'10", 235, averaging 21.2 points per game and 7.5 rebounds per game.
It's the stash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's definitely the stash. He's a 2-time All-American, and so I got to put him there. And then center of the year, I'm going to piggyback off of you, Jasmine. I'm going to go with Angel Reese. Not only do the stats prove it, but she brings this swagger to women's basketball that I'm not saying I haven't seen, but there's just something with her that makes her one of the most exciting players to watch. Coach of the year, I'm going with Nate Oates. He took a team who was barely 500, exactly sitting at 500, to 15-1 in 1 year, Jake. So I know you think that's a hot take.
That's just a little
but also, he developed
controversial
Brandon
nowadays.
Miller into the player he is when you have arguably one of the best players in college basketball and your program's doing that well. That's coaching.
Yeah, no, they're a great team for sure. Wait, I got a question for you before we throw it to Sean. Drew Timme, how do you think Drew Timme's going to be in the NBA? You think he's league ready?
I'm not quite sure. But I mean, right now, I think he's playing well.
This is about college, Jake.
Yeah, this is
about
college
college.
basketball.
I've just heard a lot of controversy about that.
I mean, there is controversy, but that's with every big player.
Well, if you like slow-footed centers that can't shoot, maybe.
Hey, Sean, let's hear your team, man.
My team, all right, I went with my point guard, Antoine Davis from Detroit Mercy, the nation's leading scorer.
Yeah.
He's the 28.2 points per game. He's first in the nation in offensive win shares at 5.4 per game, 97th percentile in catch and shoot situations. He was 3 points shy of breaking the single season NCAA record.
Yep.
This dude's a bucket. Also, on that win share stat, they only have 14 wins on the season, and he's accountable for almost half of those.
Right.
Which is crazy. My shooting guard is Tavion Kinsey out of Marshall. He has 22.2 points per game, 4.8 rebounds per game, 5.4 assists per game. This dude is an incredible athlete. His ability to get his shot off in any situation, he's just able to jump over his defender and get a shot off. 2.3 stocks per game. He's been a lot better shooter, shooting 40% this year from three. My small forward, Ashley Jones out of Iowa State. They might need to rename the small forward player of the year after her. This is looking for her three-peat this season. She's got an inside-out game, averaging 21 points per game. Big Ten leader in points, Big Ten leader in career rebounds, which is crazy with how many great players they've had over the years.
Right.
My power forward, also out of the Big Ten on the men's side, Trace Jackson Davis. Some argue he's a center because that's what he plays for them. I see more of his power forward. 20 points per game, 11.1 rebounds per game, 3.8 assists per game. I mean, that's the thing. We've seen his development over the years. He's really become, now that teams know he's the go-to option because he's basically unstoppable down low. He's really developed as a playmaker, which is what you like to see from an NBA perspective.
Right.
My center, Jazz and McKenzie aren't going to like this one. I went with Aaliyah Boston. Best player on the best team in the country.
Dropped.
I think her per game averages are a little lower because she's not asked to carry as much of a load because they're such a stacked roster, but best player on the best team. And this team is going to be led by FAU's Dusty May. He's really turned the program around over there, led them to their first national rank ever. This team had 5 winning seasons ever. 4 of them were with this guy. He came from Florida, beat Florida this year. And you look at the past few seasons, they've had guys that are hurt. This is their first year they've really had it all together, and they've been proven that they deserve to be on the stage.
Right.
I like that team, Sean. That's pretty good. I love the coach of the year, actually. So lastly, we're going to finish up with my team of the year. I have Max Abmas at my point guard position. Oral Roberts is 27-4 this year, 18-0 in conference. This team is legit. Remember when they beat Ohio State a couple years ago? They busted my bracket. This guy's averaged over 20 points per game for the last 3 seasons. He's averaging 22 this year. He is legit. He's shooting 37% on threes, almost 50% on his field goals. So that is my point guard. I think he's going to lead this team really well. For my shooting guard, I've got Caitlin Clark from Iowa. She is
Tough.
She is tough. She is tough. This year she's averaging 27. Last year she averaged 27. I never believe it. Year before she averaged 27.
That's crazy.
So she's playing 34 minutes per game. That is actually her lowest in her career per season. So she is still finding a way to help this team, and I was going to be real scary. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to be real scary, and she's shooting almost 50% from the floor as well. For my small forward, I've got Villanova's Maddie Siegrist. She leads
She's good.
NCAA women's basketball in scoring per game with 29 points per game. This is not new for her. I mean, it is her biggest scoring season in her career, but she's had her last 3 seasons were over 20 points per game. She is shooting almost 40% on her 3-pointers. She's shooting 52% from the field.
Yeah, efficient.
That is unheard of for a guard. So that's my easy pick. My power forward, this one's kind of out there. I don't even know if y'all even know about this one. I'm going with Gigi Jackson from South Carolina.
I know Gigi, yeah.
Okay, this is mainly because I want to bring some light to him. He's playing really well. He's averaging 15 points per game. He could be shooting a little better, but 32 minutes per game as a freshman. I saw this guy play in high school, actually. He went to a high school in South Carolina. He played a playoff game against us, and he destroyed us. I think probably scored more on our team. So it's really cool to see him like that, and now to see him playing there.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to give him some love. He will probably get drafted in the first round this year.
Yeah.
Probably a lottery pick.
So pretty cool to see. My center, I'm not going with LSU or South Carolina here. Give me Purdue's Zach Edey.
He's tall.
That is a tall man right there. That is a tall man, and we are Purdueing it with Zach Edey.
Oh my God.
We are Purduing it. This guy is having a career season. He's averaging 22 points per game, 14 points last season, only 8 points in his first season. This is his best season in his career, and I think he could be a top 10 pick, guys.
Wow.
He could be a top 10 pick.
Wow. And like slow-footed centers who can't shoot.
The Boilermakers really are doing it with him. Connor Hibbett, you're going to love that one. My coach of the year goes to Marquette's Shaka Smart. This team is 24-6. They're ranked 6th in the country, and they were not ranked at all in the preseason. They did not have any votes to be ranked. It's only his second year coaching in Marquette. I think that's my choice. They're dominating in Big East.
They were chosen like 9th in their conference preseason too.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
This team, they're a little scary.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't want to go up against them.
Absolutely. So we are going to go. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of our favorite upsets as we approach March Madness time. So stay right with us. Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day, everyone. We have a little special segment for you. We're talking about some upsets, but everyone knows we start off this last segment with Jakey Poo's Intramural Recap. I'm not going to lie, I've been struggling. Last night, I went 0 for 5 from the field again. That means in the last 2 games, I've gone 0 for 10 from the field.
It's because you won the 3-point competition.
I know.
And then
Now
you were
they're
just
scouting
like,
on you.
I'm not gonna lie, I had good looks too, and they were not falling. I thought I got fouled like twice, didn't get a call. I tried flopping too, that did not work.
What does he have to do to turn it around?
You know?
Guys,
what do you think Jake needs to do to actually
what does Jake
score?
need to do to turn
I think
this
you
around?
have to attack the basket, Jake. I think
I can't.
that's
No,
the difference.
No, you got to be a sniper from the corner.
At least pretend.
We'll get better at it.
Right.
We'll work on it.
But we are headed to the playoffs next Wednesday, so we'll see what happens. Sean, let's hear your intramural recap. I heard you played last night.
I had an all right game. I look at wins as an individual stat, and we're doing pretty good in that
Michael Jordan
department.
mindset.
Both of my teams are undefeated, and we have the 2 and 3 seeds in the tournament. So
Mamba
Nice.
mentality.
Mamba mentality.
All right, I like to hear it.
He's on
So-
2 teams, and you're on 1?
You know,
Slacker.
I wish I was on too.
Back in
On
my
this
day, I
point.
was on Fox. Yep.
Dang. All right.
I gotta
Well,
do Jazz's Untitled
No, I'm
Recap.
playing.
March is upon us, guys.
Yeah.
This is the best month of the year, in my opinion. But it
like
blows away
Christmas.
December, you know?
Like
Yeah.
Christmas.
We've
Better.
got March Madness coming up, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite upsets in March Madness history in men's and women's. I'm going to start off with mine. Men's side, St. Peter's Elite 8 run
Yes.
in 2021
It was very exciting.
tournament.
Led by another stash.
Led by
Yeah.
another staff,
Yeah.
Doug
It's
Eder,
the staff.
even though he
Yeah.
transferred away.
Yeah, yeah.
And their coach, Shaheem Holloway, is now at Seton Hall, actually.
Yeah.
We'll see if
Yeah.
they make some
Having a
noise
great
in the
season,
Big
right?
East tournament. I just love this team from the beginning. When they beat Kentucky, I was like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
Then they beat Murray State, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Then they beat Purdue, and I was like,
Yo.
whoa, what's going on? So that's my pick. Mackenzie, what's your men's your men's upset in March Madness?
I mean, I got to go with UMBC defeating
Yeah.
Virginia in 2018.
All time.
UMBC became the only 16 seed to beat a number 1 seed. So it was historic, and UMBC's players going into halftime knew that. And a really interesting stat for you guys, Virginia that season had only allowed 53.4 points per game, and UMBC scored that in one half.
Wow,
So
that's great.
it was just a crazy game for UMBC.
Yeah, that was the craziest game ever.
Yeah.
Not just because they beat them, but they destroyed them.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, it wasn't
It
like
was
a
like
buzzer
Game 7.
beater.
Yeah.
It was,
The
They were
Phoenix Suns in
20-point
the-
underdogs, too. So
Yeah.
they basically covered the spread by 40
Right.
points.
Oh my god.
and Jarius Lytle's
Yeah.
28 points.
Yeah.
Insane game.
Remember
I had
that.
Virginia as
Yeah.
my champion that year too.
Yeah.
Me too. I
Yeah.
had him too.
Yeah.
Jazz, who's your upset?
I'm going to take it back to 2006. The George Mason Patriots.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They got to the Final Four. They were the ultimate Cinderella. I mean, people still
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about it to this day. Like, is this team going to have a George Mason type year? Like, that's how impactful that season was. Their whole squad was in double digits that game. And the whole run was crazy. They had never won an NCAA tournament game before 2006.
Right.
So for them not to just win a game against number 6 Michigan State, but to win another game against number 3 North Carolina, and then win another game against Wichita State, and then they earned an elite showdown versus number 1 UConn. I mean, that was just
Anytime someone beats UConn,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
yeah, 86-84. So it was a great game too.
Yeah.
They beat him, and I mean, have you heard of the George Mason Patriots before or after that? No, but I mean, I think that's what really made them the ultimate Cinderella is
That's the
because
definition
Right.
of an upset.
yeah, because it wasn't like, oh, this program had been built or this program even
Right.
went further after that. It was just
Yeah.
about that one year. They were just in the right place at the right time with the right guys,
Yep.
and they were able to get it done.
Those
time
are my
and time
favorite
again.
type of
Yeah.
stories too.
Yeah.
Obviously the upsets where they win one game, that's exciting. But to upset someone and then make it to the Elite 8 or
Do
the
it
Final
again, do it
Four,
again.
Yeah.
it's something you love to see.
That's why we
Yeah.
love March. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
68
March.
teams, anything can happen.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
Sean.
especially, I'm sorry. I just
Oh,
wanna
no,
add one
yeah,
thing.
go for it.
And especially a program like that, like a small conference like that has
Yeah.
not made
Right.
the Final Four in a
Patriot
really,
League.
really long time. So I just really wanted to. They probably won't get talked about a lot before or after this. So I just want to make sure I put that out
Absolutely.
there.
I love it.
Speaking of small conferences, I'm going to be the ultimate homer here. Talk about University of North Texas over Purdue 2021.
wow.
Greatest upset of all time, bar none. It was crazy. Coming out of the conference tournament that year, we had shut down Charles Bassey, who was one of the best players in the
Yeah.
nation. So I was like, I saw an upset coming. Not even totally biased, but they also had Zach Edey. Forget about Travion Williams, who
Zach
was a
Edey
preseason
didn't Purdue
All-American.
it for him.
Yep.
That was Zach Edey's
Some might
freshman
say
year.
they perdonted it.
Purdue today.
Ah, geez, that was worse than I
Yeah,
thought.
no, that was not good. Never said that ever again.
But yeah, winning overtime like that, Marjorie McBride stepped up big. He was
Yeah.
hitting threes
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
just awesome.
McBride's probably one of my favorite players to come
Oh
through.
yeah, doing great at Georgia now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Georgia's improved this year, by the way.
Yeah. Mhm.
They have. Watch for
Great
them in the
season over
SEC tournament. So we're gonna flip it over to the women's side. I've got a pretty easy pick here. It's 16 seed Harvard beating number 1 seed Stanford in 1998. I mean, the only other time we've seen this is UMBC, right?
Right.
And this was the first time. So I think an Ivy League school, everyone says it's
Right.
smartest college in the country, beating
They were
another
calculating
smart
their
school.
shots.
But I mean,
The
defeating number one
astrophysicist in
seed
them.
for the first time ever. That is my upset for the women's side. Mackenzie, what is yours?
I'm going to go with Washington upsetting Maryland. This was at the time where Kelsey Plum was on the team, and she led the attack and then went first round in the 2017 WNBA draft. But this one was so good to me because, like I said with Jasmine's pick earlier, they didn't just win one game. They then went on to beat Stanford, and then they beat Kentucky. Both of those teams were top 5 seeds. So I definitely think that that's a great upset.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with you, Jake. I loved the number 16 being the number 1 seed. It's like the ultimate, just opposite of the bracket.
Right.
The battle of the Ivy Leagues in that situation.
Yeah.
I think it was just a great year for Harvard, and just the fact that they were able to pull that off. I mean, Stanford's roster was really deep and really loaded that year. So I think for Harvard to be able to pull that off, I know all the smart kids were happy.
Yeah, especially women's basketball. I feel
Yeah.
like those top teams really just dominate the whole.
Yeah,
thing.
they're just like
Especially a
powerhouses.
program like
Yeah.
Stanford. Yeah.
And so that, I mean, I don't think we'll ever see that again. Maybe.
No, 16 being the one.
In the women's side.
Not in
Especially.
this current point in time.
Yeah.
No.
But that's why it's called upsets.
That is why it's called
so-
upset, and that's why it's called March Madness.
Exactly.
Well, we might see a 12 seed upset. I want to talk about Belmont women's basketball for a minute.
Yeah.
In 2021, they beat Gonzaga 64 to 59 as a 12 seed. In 2022, they beat Oregon in overtime 73 to 70, also
Right.
as a 12 seed.
Wow.
Okay.
Something about that 12 to 5, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
12-5 matchups has been
It's a little closer than we think.
Yeah. Statistically, they've had the best success as underdogs. But yeah, they're 20-10 this season, so we'll see if they get a 12 seed again. It's been working for them pretty well so far. I want to talk about that St. Peter's earlier. So they were a 15, correct?
Yeah, we're 15.
Yeah.
They beat
The
the
interesting
2.
thing about the way the March Madness bracket works is that if you beat a higher seed, you essentially become the higher seed and have that
Right.
easier path to the
Right.
route.
Right.
So it's interesting that we don't see more sustained success from some of these Cinderella upsets.
Yeah. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
it is kind of crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
How about some honorable mentions? I think we could all pretty much agree on Florida Gulf Coast.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that?
100%.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was
Yeah.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
do you guys have any other honorable mentions that you can think of?
How about I predict one?
Okay. Okay.
future.
Okay.
Okay,
I like
yeah,
this.
like,
I like
let's-
this. I like
You know what I'm
this.
saying? Let's get into the future for a second. I think whoever goes out of the CUSA could potentially upset somebody. I think this is a lot tougher conference than we think it is, or that other people think it is. I mean, we know,
It is.
obviously, but I think like one of these teams around here could really upset somebody. I don't know around what seed exactly we would get, but I take us or FAU. I'll give them a little credit. I'll take
love
them
it.
as well.
I also
NCAA is
have a
scared
little
to
bit
give us
of
an at-large bid.
predicting.
Yeah,
But
like-
this is more something I would like to
Okay.
see. If UConn doesn't have Paige Buckers, I can see them getting upset in the Sweet 16 this year.
Yeah.
I can see them being out second round.
Yeah, I could too, yeah. But I don't think LSU or South Carolina is getting upset.
No, I think
At any
they're going to be at the
point.
South
mountaintop.
Carolina-
They're going to beat each other, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that will do it for us today on Mean Green Game Day. Thank you so much for tuning in. And up next, we have the conference tournament. So we, yeah, we'll see, maybe. So go Mean Green and have a great weekend.